to talk about master demonstration and what that is, how to prepare for it, and how to sustain it. And as Joy said, it's particularly relevant to this time now when our consciousness is centered on the master, the greatest master that we know of all time, who made his master demonstration through realizing or embodying and living out the principle of immortality. All right, so each one of us here, as Joy said, has a something, much deeper than the details of everyday life. We have a something that compels our life to go forward and to express some greatness of spirit. And there are achievements within achievements, but we know that a master demonstration is a very great demonstration. It is a transcendent demonstration. When you have made your master demonstration at this time, according to you at this time, you will find that you have arrived at a new level, a new dimension of expression, and nothing remains the same. In a master demonstration is very complete, okay? There is no trace of the past that remains. None of the old issues appear. So you have entirely arrived at a new expression. You are the full incorporation of a totally new consciousness. So characteristically, when we have a master demonstration, we feel immense satisfaction. There's nothing in us that says, oh, I got to go back, oh, that, there's no compromise. There is no sense of compromise in that. There is no desire to go back, change things, fix things. It rests permanent, like a footprint in divine mind. It is your footprint of completion that you are able to live in at that level and also to release. So you can see how very sweeping it is, all right? Just for example, often when I treat, and I know that I'm working toward a full expression of any idea, whatever that might be, we start with that seed, that initial vision, and then it proceeds to come forth, and then it's manifest. And at the point when it's manifest, we can just look at it and say, that's perfect. That's what I call a God demonstration. I like to use this word, God demonstration. I like to say, demonstrate God. Just like we talk about Om. When I say demonstrate God, I mean demonstrate the perfection of the divinity of you to the greatest conception that you can conceive of. So I would say, for instance, the last God demonstration, of course all demonstrations are God, but the UN, for instance, for me that was a God evening. I called it from the beginning. I said, let this be a God evening, and I knew what I meant when I said that. I meant let it include everything that the sweetness and the perfection is. Let us bring out all of that about ourselves. So that was outpictured. That was evidence there. So I think when we look at demonstrations, if we can use that word God, if you're going after employment or you're going after a shift in careers or whatever it might be, whatever your particular goal is that you have in mind right now, treat that you are guided to manifest the perfection of God there. In that way, you use yourself in a higher way to bring out the persona of God as you, uniquely as you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a master demonstration has these qualities. Now, every time when I look back at the UN or if I look back at the architecture of my apartment, which I, worked on for years, and there was always these little things, like some area would turn out perfect, and I felt I could just let it go because I now could just live in the contentment, the joy of it. It was done. It was done, right? Now, when I look back at the UN, I can live in the contentment, the enjoyment. It was done. It was done. There was nothing more to do. There's nothing more to do. So there's a tremendous feeling of satisfaction that surrounds master demonstration, and it's all-inclusive. of the God idea. Now, one thing I want to say in terms of, preparation, there are stages, there are ways to prepare, okay? So the first one we know, nothing manifests save through our contemplation of it. As Jean said last night, we must have an idea going for us of how a thing will be, what it's going to look like when our pictures for ourselves. So the way to prepare for any demonstration, but particularly for master demonstration, rather than concerning yourself with the outer, is to spend time daily, systematically. Remember, the essence of raising your consciousness is your continuity and your stability. So it's not a sometime thing. You must stay in it, stay in it. So you ask, instead of implanting your own vision on top of it, you know how we visualize? That's a little stressful because it's the mind trying to do, okay? And higher than visualizing is what we call divine visioning. And that is opening yourself, coming into the meditative state, coming into quietude, thinking in terms of what it is that you desire, and then opening yourself to receive of the divine idea of perfection and wholeness for you. So there is an attitude of receptivity and letting the mind flow in, stream in to you. And some of the questions I like to ask, which are, what is the highest and the greatest idea that a loving Father, Mother, God, principle has in mind for me? Now remember, this idea can be no less. The idea for you can be no less than what God desires for God's self, because you are God's self. So in this way, you can elevate yourself. So rather than interposing, you know how we do this? Well, this is my idea. It's okay to have your ideas, but greater and more expansive to your heart capacity and to your consciousness, to your mental activity. Something like, we don't want to be looking at the ground and the facts all the time. We want to be communing with the divine, expanding our consciousness. The finite, the infinite cannot decrease itself, but we can expand ourselves. So how do we, first step in preparation, we get still, we go within, and we say, what is the most wonderful idea that I can think of fulfillment, wholeness, beauty, everything that embodies what we know to be the perfection of the blissful divine principle. And then we let that radiate through to us. And then once we've received of that idea, which becomes our light, our goal, we then must maintain that. All right, so we get into we do whatever comes to us to do. This is called right action. We say, God, okay, I got the idea. I know what you want from me. I know what would look like completeness and wholeness, master demonstration. Now, is there any way that I can serve this idea coming forth? Then we move into what we call right action, right doing, right knowing. And these are all metaphysical terms that means that we maintain our alignment with the God idea. And remember, it's never an idea of compromise. It's never an idea of settling. So a yogi master once told me, once we get into the habit of compromising, we cannot use our will. We can never get what we want. So all of us have to move out of the idea of compromising and aligning yourself with the vision, the divine vision for you. Now, okay, so doing this on the outer, all these things that we do with a consciousness of ease, knowing that the divine source is running this manifestation. So we do our thing. In other words, if we're looking for a job, we do all in our power on the action level to make phone calls without stressing ourselves with whatever seems intuitively right. We follow that path and then, let things unfold. But we know it is not our action that is doing it. Okay? It is not our action that is doing it. All we are simply doing, when God is the only doer, the master doer is the only doer, we just can set the stage to be right. So when we're doing our thing and following our guidance, we still know, this idea that I have in mind or that which is greater. And we know that everything that we do accumulates unto us. In other words, our good hardly ever comes from where we're searching for it, where we're applying the action, right? It comes from seemingly left field sometimes, and this is the way the universe is spontaneous. So it acknowledges everything that you have done toward the loving attainment of your goal. But remember that it will bring it from where it is, from where the open door is. So you don't have to be concerned about, where's it coming from? What's it going to look like? We know the essence of it because we know what God is. So we know the essence must be magnificent. But we don't concern ourselves, and we do our best in a sort of a humble stance, not to the world, but to God. And I love this, this thing. I know this. In my life, if I do my thing, I do what is given to me to do at the moment, I know the promise will be fulfilled. My rent will be paid. All my needs will be met. The Father, Mother, Mind will take care of everything. My next job, my next whatever will be present for me. All right? So we help God to do through us by being a right place for things to happen through our consciousness. And we maintain quietude and we maintain humility, in a sense, to the divine, to the glory of it all, not to the awfulness of it all. If you understand what I mean, there's a great difference between the human idea of humility and the divine idea. All right? So, master demonstration, we start by going to the divine ideal. Then every day we build up our chi, our demonstrating energy, by every morning coming back, when we wake up, have our cup of coffee, sit down. What is it again, God? Because things happen. And it's our task not to get caught up, to remain perfectly centered in our vision. What is it again? And then, recontemplate it until you feel centered in it. And then move out on your day. Then when you return at night, should be constant reference to your vision in the midst of whatever activity. Extract yourself, because you're causal being. Don't get caught up out there. And, come into the idea again. All right, so that's one step of preparation. Is very important. And I find for myself, I live in the land of great ideas, and I love it. But you must have a lot of power. You must be in touch with the power line to sustain your idea in the midst of whatever's. All right? If you can be easily pulled this way and that way, then you have work to do. And we should notice when we're being pulled away, into accepting less, and come back into our center, reaffirm our ground, and release whatever it was that we allowed ourselves to get caught up in. This is a build-up of your divine ability to purely manifest the greatest and the best. So attention, okay? Now, what else about a master demonstration? We don't get caught up in time or in space ideas. Like retreating for the Brinks truck, and you keep running out and look and say, well, where's that Brinks truck? It's not here yet. It's not working, That's not what we want to do, okay? Because we break the line of the manifestation the instant we do that. Our task is to affirm I spoke my word. It's not only my idea, this is God's idea of good for me. God is responsible for bringing this idea about. And we say, in the midst of it, in the darkest dark, we hold the light of our knowing and say, it is happening because I spoke my word. It's happening on the invisible. Now, people fall out. Where do people fall out? They're all enthusiastic in the beginning, right? And it's wonderful when things come through and they're joyous. But the difficult period is the middle period. Why? Because that's the invisible period. That's when God is working underground, in the invisible. Underground, not visible to the eye, interiorly working to bring all things right. And when you're talking master demonstration, this is why this will show you why it behooves us not to get caught up in time and space, but just to say it is happening perfectly. All things are being brought together in divine right order for me, because I know this is God's idea for me. And the reason being because a master demonstration is very all-inclusive and often includes many smaller, we know there's no large nor small, but just in human terms, many, many, many details. Many smaller demonstrations are a part of your overall master demonstration. And also, very often, your master demonstration can involve many other persons and conditions in the universe. So you must realize that what I am seeking may involve a network of persons, places, conditions where all things must come right for this emergence. So we exercise not so much patience, which is kind of like, we only need patience when we're impatient. So that doesn't work. But let's say knowing. I can remember, for the longest time before I, really identified this path as the path of my life, I had other professions, which I was very successful at. And my teacher, Dominic, who most of you know now, would say to me, I don't know what it is that's going on for you, but whatever it is, it must be magnificent. Now, I didn't know what the unfoldment would be, but I went in my faith, following my heart, what I love to do. I love metaphysics. I loved, at that time, the acting I was doing. I loved the art, management that I was doing. There were several things sort of at the same time existing. And I didn't know at the time, that this would be the outpicturing. I just followed my heart, my direct line of interest, knowing that something would manifest which would be a instrument to house all my gifts. Now, that which I do now is far greater than any individual thing. And yet, it calls upon all the buildup of the talents that I had in each and every area of my life. But you see, for years and years, I had to know without seeing. I had to know without seeing. All right? And fortunately, I had a great teacher and friends who also knew without seeing. So this is our task, all right? And there's a wonderful story about a woman, goes to a practitioner, and a very, very powerful practitioner. And she says to her, I want to meet the love of my life. That's what I want. Would you treat for that? And she says, okay. You sure you want that? All right. You're absolutely certain that this is what you want. And the reason she asked her this is because she knew that when we want something, we must be willing to take what goes along with it. This is another factor. When you're thinking in terms of your master demonstration or what you can become conscious of the greatest idea of happiness for you now, would that look like? Ask yourself, am I willing? Project yourself into the circumstance. Am I willing to take on, what that entails? And if you find yourself saying, no, not, yeah, I'd love to have the restaurant, but I'm not too keen on, setting up the organization of it, then perhaps you better consider another configuration. Because there's nothing says that you have to do anything, but we must be clear and use our authority and choose the configuration that most resonates with our joy. So, some people like to work for someone. Some people like to work on their own and maybe visit an office, 1 or 2 hours a week. And if they had the whole plan laid out according to them, that would be a perfect manifestation of the soul of them, a master demonstration, right? So going back to this woman, she said, are you sure that you want what this entails? She was asking for her soul partner, the love of her life. Not just a relationship, but the relationship. And so she said, yes, that's what I want. So the practitioner did a treatment, and she said it was like the top of her head came off, literally blew something, on the top, some resistance, I guess, the top of her head. And she was feeling magnificent, and she goes out the door, and this very handsome guy, is like immediately in front of the door, and she thought that was it, So she thought, well, maybe this is it. As it turns out, it wasn't. So what we understand is that a thing is manifest at the moment. In other words, at the moment the practitioner gave the treatment, it was manifest. It was a done thing. But on the outer, there were details. There were things to go through, right? So 6 months later, down the line, Harriet, this beautiful woman, is called by a friend, and she's encouraged, please, you have to meet this man. I want you to come out and meet this man. No, I don't want to. Don't bother me. I don't feel like it. Anyhow, the friend talked her into it. She goes to meet this man. The man is, she's not really particularly attracted one way or the other until their knees touch. Something happened, and she knew it all at that moment, that this was the guy. And they are still together, and they are partners. Now, what had to happen for this in the interim? This is what I understand. If you can just know this. In the interim, the fellow had been previously married. Before she met him, he had obtained his divorce. He had moved his business from California to New York. She had details in her life that had to be cleared out, so the two of them could be free to manifest this relationship. All right? So if Harriet had been doubting Thomas, or Teresa, or whatever, she wouldn't, like we are so often, and get impatient. Where is it? It's not happening. But Harriet's consciousness is very good, and she knew she would receive in divine order. But you see the details that had to come about. So remember that your master demonstration often involves, other persons, conditions who are in the time zone with you, who are a part of that. It's not just us. It's a God demonstration, so it's all-inclusive. Everything we do resounds throughout the universe and affects every other person. All right? So remember that. And if you can develop this energy to keep knowing, even though I cannot see, feel, whatever, this idea of glory is coming forth perfectly. You will see this. All right? So this is something to know. Now, back to preparation. There's a statement which we discussed last night that new good cannot come into crowded territory. All right? First of all, remember, no compromise. No compromise. The highest is the nearest, the highest and the best. Go for the goal. Then once you have that pinpointed, what that is, ask yourself, what is it in my life now? I got a message from a little cute note from Dominic that said, what is occupying your space now is taking the space of that which you want to be. Something like that. In other words, we let our space be occupied. And this says it. right? It's like occupied territory, you know. Nothing can come in. Nothing can come in. So the law is that we must ask ourselves, and we can do this, it's very wonderful, what can I release? What must I let go of? What must I be willing to let go of in order to make room for this idea that I have in mind to flourish? What we are taught is, see, we're taught hold on, hold on, hold on, because we're not taught God. We're not taught security. We're not taught creativity. We're taught hold on for your dear life. You know, life is dangerous, you know. And this very thing keeps us boxed in limitation, you see. So we have to cultivate that consciousness of freedom that says, that easily discards things. You know, it says the Son of Man had no place to lay his head. Now, it didn't mean that he was homeless. It meant that the universe was his home. And he didn't need to be stuck anywhere. He flowed freely, doing his thing. You know, the Son of Man, and that's us. There is no place where we are stuck. So ask yourself, what do I need to release? What does not resonate with my demonstration? And start peeling it away now. Don't wait for the demonstration to come. In other words, you want a new rug, you don't like looking at that rug, take that rug, put it out on the street, and let it be someone else's rug. Let it circulate. And leave that space empty, empty, empty. So that you can be a magnet. It's a vacuum law. You will instantly magnetize new good. All right? So we want to empty out. We also want to empty ourselves of any level of activity that is not commensurate with the demonstration we have in mind. Okay? I can't say, I want the love of my life and be a mean, nasty person. The two don't mix. They never will. So I have to ask myself, what does this mean to me? I say I want this. But what does that mean to me in subjective terms? How am I acting? How am I being? What's my life like? What am I doing? And you be it now. You be the consciousness and the behavior of it now. You put the garment on yourself now, right? So this reads as magnetism to the universe that you mean business. You know, and there's a great difference. If I know I already have something, do I have to take less? No. Let's say if I know that I already have the place of my dreams, then someone offers me a lesser place. Do I say, well, I have to take this right now because maybe I won't? No. You're blocking a demonstration. It's only the one who says, I hold out, like Catherine Ponder says, for the highest and the best. According to me. I let this go. You know? All right. So we must be, in our action, our behavior, our words, be the embodiment, because the law is, you are that business you want. You are, you hear this, you know, be it. You are it. So we must be it before, in all our ways. And that introduces a high level of magnetism into the creative law of mind. And in this way, we ascend to the new level. Now realize the new level, which is your master demonstration of the total good that you want in whatever area, exists for you right now. But you must be at the equal level of functioning. You must raise yourself to the level of what that means. So ask yourself, what does that mean to me? What's my life like? How am I? You know, and introduce it now in your circumstances now. Does this make sense? It already exists for you, but it's like going up an elevator. You have to get out a higher floor. It depends what, you know, just take the elevator up and say, what am I like at this more perfected level? And then abide in that level. Act as if. Acting as if. And this is very deeply meaningful. All right? Now, and it requires great authority in your life to do this. Then knowing that you are the master builder. Not things out there. That it emerges from you. right? All right, so we have preparation, tuning in with the highest idea of perfection for ourselves, staying in that consciousness, sticking with it like a postage stamp until it gets there, okay? Stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. And then secondly, do all you can to be in, whatever comes to your mind, then cleanse. Immediately cleanse your entire atmosphere of anything that would be out of harmony with this idea. All right? Now, realize, just to capsulize this, realize many other persons, conditions, universally are involved in your idea because it's a God idea. All right? So we're willing to let it take whatever time it takes. And all we do is just keep declaring perfect divine order. I just know this is a strong word. Divine order is going on in my life. All right? Rather than getting caught up in patience and where it is. Because this is the thing, your word makes it so. So if I say all things are in divine demonstration, this has to do with letting go of the past, may involve new persons, new groups. So we must be open at the top. We can never be stuck in any ritual or submerged in any ritual. There is a statement that, God, or the infinite I am, creates, but is never absorbed by its creation. So anytime we are stuck in the shell of a creation, whatever that be, we've lost ourselves. We've submerged. We got it all backwards. We're saying that's the power. Forgetting that we manifested that. So we stay on top, we do not get submerged, and we remain free and flexible, even in the most bountiful manifestation. You want to stay always free and flexible. If there be something greater, let me know it. If I need to change, let me know it. If there's anything I should do, let me know it. So we proceed, as Holmes says, open at the top, with a sense of continual arrival at something greater. All right, so it may involve new persons. Now, how often do people treat, for new friends, that wonderful new situation, a marriage, let's say, this is a very good example. And Joy, I know, knows this. She's a wonderful marriage, right? That, people ask for their demonstration. The person, you get the marriage, it's happening, but then you keep all your relationships just exactly the same as they've always been. All your friendships, you don't prioritize. You realize your master demonstration must come first. And you must change the order of importance or priorities in your life, and you mustn't allow people to get you hung up in guilt and fear, because it is natural for spirit to progress. So why would a master demonstration involve new people, new groups? Because it's a greater idea. And we vibrate at the level of where our idea is. And it may be, very often, you will experience when you're expanding, perhaps some of the people that you know would prefer that you'd stay where you are. And thus we must bless them and let them go and create room for the people who are at our level where we are. Do you understand? So, if I'm not willing to take on the new conditions surrounding that and to let go, because a group is a collective consciousness, right? Or friends are collective, unified consciousness, the law of attraction. All right, so let's not make that mistake. And let's be open and say, whatever it entails, I am willing. Once we've decided that it is indeed what we want, I am willing. And let whatever comes, need to come. Stuart Wilde says, we're not free. We are not free. If someone calls and says, come to Paris tomorrow, and we're not free to say yes to a great new opportunity and just leave everything behind us in peace and in faith, we're stuck. You see? So you see how we stick ourselves. Now, another factor. Okay, so you know about preparation, cleansing, being open, communing with the highest idea of perfection and good for each and for all, realizing it includes many, may include many other persons and conditions, not getting hung up in timing, just declaring divine order, presence, perfect presence goes before me to do it. Now, so preparation. We must shift the energies so that the main idea of good we have in mind is a dominant leading factor in our life. This is another way of looking at it. And we reduce all the other things and let the dominant light lead us, okay? Now, many things can happen also. There can be surprises, not only new persons, new situations, but surprises. So we must be willing for the universe to operate spontaneously for us and in a new way that we've never even known before. Why do we keep wanting to repeat the past, the familiar? Spirit never runs reruns. You know? We're always expanding and moving out. So it may include surprises, and we must be willing to respond. Just like, come to Paris, or however that translates, be ready, pick up the opportunity, right? Now, all right. So you have your master demonstration. By nurturing it correctly, it comes forth in due time, and it's wonderful. And there's nothing we want to redo. It's a perfection at that moment for ourselves, and we're satisfied. Now there is keeping it. Keeping it. So often people work and work and work to attain something. They up their level and they stay at that level, and then they attain the thing, and then they go right back to their old behavior. I see it time and time and time again. And they lose it. So realize that, life is consciousness, and we must apply our consciousness constantly. So once you've attained, you must still keep the thing that drew the manifestation to you going. All right? The same consciousness. We don't say, okay, thanks, God. That was great. Okay, enough of you. And, we must maintain that conscious knowing. And just a few other things I'd like to share with you about this, and then we'll, close this morning. But along with the element of surprise, never take no. Regardless of what appears, your idea is a divine idea. It is meant for you. Never accept no. Story, wonderful singer, and she, her friend, loved her voice and said, we just got to have you, we have to get you known. So she makes a recording of her, and it's wonderful, and she had an incredible voice. Then the producers, of a certain television show decide that they want to use some of the not lesser talent, but talent in lesser positions in a special production. So she was one of the ones who was chosen to sing, like a 200-pound woman, right, with a glorious voice. And up until that time, she's been being a comedian and doing things like that, lesser than her divine expression, So the producers chose her and said, we want you to, sing, do your divine thing on our show. And so that was wonderful, and she had been working with her practitioner, her friend, and she said, I've made my demonstration. Then a phone call comes a couple of weeks later saying, oh, we are short of time. We have to, cancel you out. And the friend, and she knew not to take no for an answer. So they didn't move into try controlling the producer and calling everyone in the world and saying, what do you mean? And, all this stuff, handling it in this manner. She just said, it's not over yet. We let this go to the higher authorities, knowing that your appearance is perfect. And even if not this show, another. We let this go to the higher authorities, meaning divine mind that rules the universe. A couple of days later, phone call from the producers, rescheduling her, because the star of the show wondered, where is that wonderful girl I want her in the show, and gave up a song of his own to make room for her. So don't take no at the point, bring in the higher authorities, always being free. If not this idea, of course, whatever is the greatness. Don't take no. Because every idea that is a good idea that you have, there is a way for it to express. So when we get into the no consciousness, we're getting more into the human. Humans may say no to us, but God never does. So it creates a door. And this is not the only story. This has happened over and over and over again. So don't take no. Say it's not over yet until it's looked at by the higher authorities, and release it to the higher authorities, whoever they may be. All right? Last thing I want to tell you. Just before you get to making an all-inclusive, great, master demonstration of good, there can appear to be the point where you must sacrifice that. And this is the Abraham story, which I know you all know. Abraham and Sarah, for years, Abraham had everything. And he really was God's son. But his deepest dream was he wanted a son. So they try to force through. This is why I'm telling you about time. Don't try to force things through with your own will. They tried to force through. They finally gave up. Sarah, at that time called Sarai, meaning bitter, gave up on God and said, well, God promised me a son. I'm barren. Things aren't happening. Abraham, go out, take that maid there, Hagar, and let's get a son. Gave up and rushed and forced. So it gave birth to a rebellious son who was very difficult to control. How many of us have had this happen, right? Right? And they said because we pushed a thing through rather than loved a thing through, right? So Abraham and Sarah saw their error, corrected that error, and they, came back into harmony with God. And Sarai's name was changed to Sarai, I to H, meaning harmonized one. And by this time they're 90. And Abraham, and they do have the son of their dreams. Now, after they had the son, God says, Abraham, take that son to the altar, sacrifice. And this is the principle, inherent in this is the principle of detachment. Involvement without attachment. The great Buddha principle. Involvement without attachment is still maintaining the consciousness of thy will be done. Still thy mind on the highest good. In other words, Abraham was willing to do this. In other words, he was saying, if it be thy will for greatest good for all concerned, I am willing to sacrifice even this that I love. And very often, in major demonstrations, this phase happens. So, God saw Abraham was stable and had maintained his line of consciousness. It's not necessary, Abraham. Sacrifice a ram instead. So know that there could appear to be things going bump in the night. And that is that principle of detachment. Can we be detached from our successes? Can we be loving detachment? It's very difficult. It's the last thing I'm talking to you about. You must bring total involvement into whatever it is that you want to do in life. You can't participate in the universe by standing on the sidelines, waiting till things are the way you want them. You must bring yourself, immerse yourself into life, in the spirit of life, in the spirit of a demonstration, yet maintain loving detachment. And that is right. Easing God out. It's like, okay, I got it now, God. Bye. Let me go back to my ways. No, we must maintain this consciousness, and particularly the more powerful, more successful you get, the more you need this consciousness. So to keep your mind on high, enjoying what you have, but your mind on high. So I think that I've covered all that I had, that had come to me this morning. But realize that this master demonstration, whatever that is for you, is a sacred idea that you have of good, expressing uniquely through you. It can't express through anyone the way it can through you. It's all yours. There are no doubles. There's no two thumbprints. And you have the right to fulfill yourself to the max in the divine consciousness. So this week, particularly during this very sacred season where there's so much evolution, rebirth, think about that. Think about who you are. Know that it's yours. And make way for it. Prepare for it. And know that that is the divine consciousness, the Christed consciousness in you, bringing out the master in you, bringing out the perfection of your spirit that you are, and no less. No compromise. God does not need to compromise. All right, so let's just do a short meditation to ground ourselves in this power. And I know that each one of you is going forward into demonstrating perfectly the greatness and power for yourselves. So let us right now take a deep breath, breathing in the bountiful air of spirit, ascending throughout every chakra with power, with life, with clarity, and emerging gently now through the top of our heads to flow out into an infinite sea of radiant possibility and the substance of all that is. As we look around, let us identify our friend, the beloved Jesus, who went before, showed the way of perfection for each and every one. And let us each one go apart now, communing with him individually in consciousness, regarding our master demonstration. As we tell our idea of good, it is said unto us that it is known already. And the perfect robe, the seamless robe, the golden robe of new good is offered to us to put on. We each one put on this robe now and become instantly transformed and nurtured in every cell of our being to be the golden body of light and perfection without hindrance that we are. We thank the Master for guiding us. We know where you are, I am with thee. Right now, as we stand in our new robes filled with divine magnetism and energy, we turn our mind now to overview our life, that area we have in mind for the perfect whole manifestation. And we see, yes, indeed, it is perfectly manifest in all. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, Thy ways are perfect and beyond compare. And so it is. Your bulletins, there are treatment to fill out whatever it is you want to experience in your life, because I'll be out for yourself in present terms like I have, I am established in very definite present terms what you desire to experience. And in keeping with this morning, I would add, or greater. Okay, or greater. So let's read our I am statement. And, let us know that as we're speaking our word, we are establishing as a law unto our being, and no less. This is the platform, the new platform upon which our bottom line, this is our new bottom line. I am that I am, and right now I declare there is only one power to my world, and that is God. There is only one inevitable result. I shall overcome all through the divine power that I am. I never get into illusions of restriction, denial, or delay, for I know the wholeness surrounds me. I never settle for anything less than the best, for I know, by virtue of my divine origins, I have already inherited the kingdom. I rest in the knowing, I am thine and thou art mine, concerning any good. As I keep mine eye single and filled with light, radiant substance now appears on my horizon. It is my master demonstration, fulfilled and complete. Now I am the transformation and the transfiguration. Now I ascend powerfully into bliss. I connect to my new good now, embracing its wonders within my heart, knowing the rightness of it all. It is so magnificent, nothing of the past remains. I rejoice. I play in the fields of the Lord, throughout time, throughout eternity. I celebrate the one and only life that is and that is always mine, and so it is.